What's up, everybody? So today we're going to talk about another good story by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, and that book is Fatale. I know it's supposed to be like, I don't know, it's weird because when I first got it, it's Fatale, because we look at it as Fatale because they don't put that femme fatale on it. And so when they put that femme in the beginning, you know it's Fatale. But when I first read it, it was like Fatale. Anyway, so yeah, I just got done reading this book. It's actually pretty big. I don't know if there's actually a page count. Yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, it's a pretty thick book. Like I said, it's by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, and I believe. Hold on, before I go any further, I do want to see if there's colors. Yeah, colors by Elizabeth Brutweiser and Dave Stewart. Now, this book, first and foremost, I noticed that my previous videos didn't have the publisher, and I know some people actually do want to see that. So the publisher of this book is actually Image Comics, and I know some of the other ones didn't. I didn't say that, so I will continue to start doing this. And the last thing I want to do is, at the end of the video, like where I usually kind of wrap it up, I'm gonna give this book a rating. And that rating for that is going to depend on whether I keep it or not. Like if it's 5 or below, I'm not going to keep it. If it's 6 and above, I'm going to keep it. But depending on 6, considering if I say 6 or 10, if it's like below 7, if it's 6 or 7, it's a keep but a reread. And if by the time I reread it again at that time, and I still think it's a 6 or 7, I'm going to get rid of it, right? So this one was a reread. This one's going to be a reread for me for sure, for a few reasons. But I'll get into that later when we discuss what I liked about the book. There might be a lot of spoilers in here. I'm gonna try not to give so much spoilers. I don't want to give away the twist at the end or nothing like that, or what happens at the end. But I do want to talk about the story of this, and and go from there. So let's get started with this book. All right, guys. So here it is, Fatale. Now, the reason I'm going to say I like this book, but I don't know, and I know it's going to be a reread for sure, is because there was a lot of plot holes in it, and there was a lot of things that just did not make sense to me, and I was like, maybe I read it wrong, maybe I didn't, I don't know. So when I first read it, I read it, it was great. But then when I went to go do like a few other, like I guess a review, I didn't really go do a review. I went to go look at reviews, and people were saying the way they read it was this, was that. They, they pretty much did like a timeline for this, because what this book does is it jumps around a lot. And what I mean by that, it jumps from timelines. What I mean by timelines is different times of the year. Like, for example, the prologue right here, this is Nicholas Lash. It's during that time where it's present day 2014, and he's at a funeral of his dad's funeral, I believe. No, he wasn't at his dad's funeral. He was actually at his uncle Dominic Raines' funeral. And we find out about Dominic Raines because there's flashbacks to it. So right here, our main character right here, as a matter of fact, he's not even really the main character. The main character is actually Josephine. And first and foremost, I do want to say that this art is beautiful. Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips do not disappoint whatsoever. So this was a great story, but it jumps around way too much. And what I mean by that is we find out that, our Nicholas Lash, when his uncle Dominic Raines passes away, he gets left the estate. When he goes to the estate, he starts looking through his stuff and finds a manuscript. Once he finds this manuscript, that same night, some dudes go after him, and they're gonna try to R.I.P. him, right? But randomly, he met Joe at the funeral, just randomly, right? But that same night, she saves him from those guys. They get into an accident, and he wakes up at the hospital, but Joe isn't there anymore. And then it starts chapter 1, because that was the prologue. And he sees a picture of, this was supposedly Joe's grandmother, but it's actually Joe. So Joe's been alive for a while. And so when chapter 1 starts, it starts in San Francisco, 1956. And it's actually the story of Dominic Raines. So she's been around for a while, because I mean, she should have been, 1956. She looks like she's already in her 20s. And then, jumped forward to 2014. She should have been 70 years old already, but she still looks like she's in her 20s. Now, what I mean by this jumps around a lot, and I'm sorry, stick with me on this. This is going to be a little bit long. I had to write this down. It jumps from present day 2014 with Nicholas Lash, San Francisco 1956 Dominic Raines and Detective Booker, back to present day 2014, and then it jumps to Los Angeles 1978, and then it jumps to present 2014, Texas 1936, France 1286 AD, Colorado 1883, Southern Carpathians, Romania 1943, present day, Seattle 1995, present day, Seattle 1995, present day, California, present day, 1935, California again, and then San Francisco 1906. And then it goes back to the present and finishes up the story. So in all those times, it's actually bringing up different characters and how a character came to be. Now, like I said, I enjoy the story, there's something about it that makes no sense to me. Like, in the main premise of the story is she has the ability to just think of it. Like, she can pretty much think of what she wants, men and men only, what they want or what she wants them to do, and they'll do it. They fall in love with her, and they cannot stand being away from her. But every man that comes across her path will do anything for her, and it ends badly for them, right? And she just leaves a wake of destruction in her path, and she doesn't know how she got these powers. At the end of the day, it doesn't really tell you how she got these powers. And when it jumps from time to time, like for example, the France AD one, that was talking about a story of a female named Mathilda that looked exactly like her, but supposedly it wasn't her. Now, in one of the stories, or one of the chapters, as you can see, she meets a witch, and that witch tells her that she's going to die 3 times. There is this guy that's after her. He's called the Bishop, and this guy is a piece of work. He is a very piece of work, and I'm going to see if I can find a picture of him, because supposedly there's this cult that's always after her. That are trying to do like the sacrificial thing with her, and every single, every so often there's like the star alignment that's perfect, and the cult and the bishop have to sacrifice Joe, or the entity that is Joe, because there's been predecessors before her. There's been Joe, there's been Bonnie Bunny. I thought I thought all these females, Mathilda, Bonnie, Bunny, Joe, they were all the same people, but just called something differently. But apparently, no, they're predecessors. And so every single time they finally do the sacrificial, sacrifice, whatever you want to call it, some big old earthquake, like when Bonnie, I think, when Bonnie got sacrificed and got caught and got sacrificed to some gods, there was a big earthquake of California, right? And then before that, there was another one that got sacrificed. So yeah, supposedly she's supposed to get sacrificed and die 3 times, but it just doesn't make sense though, because at first I thought that it was the same person, but just going by a different name. But supposedly it's not. It wasn't until Joe didn't come into the picture until about the 1900s. So that's where I was really like, what? And so when I read and I seen that they're completely different people, I was like, okay, I got to reread this. Maybe I skipped something. That's the only reason I said I need to reread this, because it made no sense to me whatsoever. And so that's why I want to reread this at all, because it made no sense to me. There's a couple plot points where it makes no sense. Like, for example, there's certain people that can act like Booker in story 1. He can see the stuff that's not really in the real world. He can see like the glowing of Joe. He can see the demons and stuff around him, and they're not really demons. Like, I don't know why they call this a horror, because it's not really a horror, story. This guy right here is the main villain, but like he has different reincarnations as well. He goes by Hansel in this. He goes by Somerton. and he's been in like the Nazi war, and it's he has like this disgusting looking face, which I'm gonna try to see if I can find. It's not this one, as you can see. He's kind of like, you know, evil looking with sharp teeth. No, he has a way different, like, there he is right here. This, he is actually this underneath. I don't know what that is. And so there's a lot of plot points in this, as like, for example, why is Nicholas Lash an important person in the story? Maybe he is, maybe he isn't. Why can Booker not, you know, why can Booker see the little things that other people can't? Why, you know, why can Joe not, how do I say, why can Joe not, like, make this guy, the bishop, do things, but she can make men do other things? There's a few people in this book that, you know, she can't control, and there's no explanation as to why. And at the end of it, you're kind of left with, wait, this doesn't make sense. This doesn't make sense. So at the end of it, yeah, I'm kind of like, maybe I should give this a reread. And this isn't just like it's like a crime noir, Lovecraftian, cosmic thing. And what I mean by cosmic thing, at the end of the book, she's finally telling Nicholas the story of her life and why she is the way she is, right? And I'm trying to see if I can show it, but I don't know. I'm going to try to see if I can show this like this. They're like in like cosmic outer space, right? And it makes no sense to me. Like this part right here was like, what is going on here now, you know? And she finally tells Nicholas Lash about her entire story and why she is the way she is. And it makes no sense to me whatsoever that after that he just ends up in some tree forest thing right here, you know? And it's just, it doesn't explain a lot of things. Like it doesn't even explain this owl over here. And the owl has a big, not plot point, but it has something to do with the story. It just makes no sense as to what it has to do with the story. So maybe I read through it a little bit too quickly, and I need to, you know, reread it and see what I missed. But there's a lot of plot points in this that makes no sense whatsoever. And, you know, I did get a few answers online, but at the end of the day, I don't know, it just, that whole cosmic entity demon stuff, it started out like a great crime noir, but when it started doing that, I was like, okay, this is not happening. Like, I don't know, I wasn't expecting it. Overall, though, the story was freaking amazing. I can't lie about that, you know, and I just don't like how it ended. You know, these are kind of the extras at the back, which is, you know, kind of nice. I just don't like how it ended, that's all. So that's the kind of the story of Fatale. Like I said, a whole bunch of things happen at the end. You find out a little bit more about each character. They introduce kind of a lot of characters, but most of them don't have any relevance to the story. Like the only person you really need to worry about and, you know, keep in mind is obviously Joe, the bishop, Booker a little bit, but not much. Lance for sure, Nicholas for sure, and I think that's about it. Maybe Dominic Reigns too a little bit. And Nicholas's father has something to do with the story, but that part also kind of made no sense. I was like, wait, what? They introduce a lot of characters. Like there's a guy called the Librarian, where where Joe has no effect on him, but it doesn't explain why, but it kind of does a little bit, and it makes no sense. Like, okay, you guys are just kind of like throwing stuff in there, right? So anyway, that's kind of my review on it. Like I said, I don't want to give the spoilers to the end. If you guys want to read this, it is a good book. If you guys want to read it and just kind of, you know, read through it, you know, by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips, great creators. It's a good read. I'm not going to say it's not, but it just, at the end, it really wasn't for me. And that's what kind of pushed me to that, okay, I'm going to give this a reread and see what happens. Alright guys, so that's kind of my review for this. I know there was a lot to talk about. I wanted to give kind of spoilers, but not too many of them. So see, you know, maybe if you guys want to pick it up and check it out. And if not, that's cool too. You know, it's not for everybody. Like I said, it starts out with a great crime noir, but then it turns into like this Lovecraftian demon cosmic thing, and I'm just like, what, you know? And so that's kind of what really pulled me away from it a little bit. And so I'm gonna give this rating about a 6. It's almost at the point where I don't want to reread it and just sell it, but I feel like I missed something in the story. So that's the reason why I'm going to keep it for now and give it a reread later on. And, you know, I'm not going to reread it again right now because I just did this review. I just read it. I'm going to let some time pass, read a couple more other graphic novels, come back to this and give it a reread. And maybe I missed something. Maybe now that I know about the, you know, predecessors and kind of how the story is supposed to go, maybe I'll look at it a little bit different. But I'm going to give this one a 6 for sure. You know, scale 1 to 10, a 6. If it was a 5, I'd sell it. You know, if it was a 8, 9, a 10, I'd keep it for sure. But this is a 6 for me. And so, you know, yeah, like I said, the art in it is fan-freaking-tastic. Fantastic. The story in itself is fantastic. But I just wasn't expecting what I seen at the end. And that whole cosmic thing just kind of, you know, it kind of just got to me. Like, don't get me wrong. If I know I'm going to read a story that has to do with cosmic stuff, I'm already expecting it, so I'm not going to be like, what? Like, I don't expect to jump into a crime noir, and then halfway through the book, they start talking about, you know, entities, ghosts, and then towards the end, it's like cosmic gods, and it's like, okay, what the heck, right? Like, you want to expect going into a book, if it's a crime noir, you know it's crime noir, and it's supposed to be grounded, right? But then when it starts jumping into that, you're kind of like, huh. So that was my biggest pet peeve of it. The jumping around kind of, I think it was a little bit much. They could have done with a couple of not introducing some of them, some people, in my opinion. But overall, I kind of do like how they kind of did the jumping around a little bit because it kind of does tie in all together in a nutshell, I guess. But yeah, overall, that's my thing. Fatale, great book. This is a compendium. Trade paperback. There's 2 hardcover deluxe editions, but they're kind of hard to come around. You can find them online, but they're a bit pricey, so I just picked up the compendium paperback, which I'm not a big fan because at the end of the day, I read this once, and you can already see there's kind of a crease going through it right here. And I've only read it once, and don't get me wrong, I did not open it further than what, you know, than just being flat. But you know, once you start getting like halfway through it, it starts cracking, and you can't really bend these spines. You can't relax them because they're glued and they're paperback. You know, if there were hardcovers and, you know, deluxe editions, big ones with sewn paperback, maybe you can relax the spine, but you couldn't with these. And so yeah, I read it once already, and my copy is already starting to get that crease that you can see here. So yeah, Image Comics, Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips, Fatale. Let me know what you guys think about this book. If you guys read it already, maybe I missed something that you guys caught and I didn't. Let me know in the comments down below. Leave a like if you guys like this book. And like I said, I have a huge stack of graphic novels that I'm going to keep doing. Like I said, these videos are more for me to, did I read this book? And I kind of scroll through and I can actually see if I read them or not, kind of give me the plot points of it. And but yeah, I hope you guys enjoy. I hope it gives you the, you know, if you guys want to read it or not. I hope this was a good review. Still working on how to do these reviews a little bit more. I know I need to start introducing and saying who the publishers are. Like, this is Image Comics, and I'm going to start doing that rating thing. So I want you guys to know the rating thing is personally me. I know people love this book. I've seen people say that this was one of Ed Brubaker's and Sean Phillips' best work. In my opinion, I think the Fade Out that I read previously was way better than this. Way better. Even though I didn't really like how it ended, the Fade Out didn't. I still like the Fade Out more than I did this. Just my opinion. Anyway, like I said, if you guys liked the video, please leave a like. And if you guys haven't done so already, please give me a follow on YouTube. I'm really trying to build my channel up. Not really per se. If you guys do want to, great. If not, you know, it is what it is. It's more for me anyway. But that being said, we'll see you on the next one.